I was knocked out. I set my alarm and it woke me up, and I didn't want to get up. I did not want to get up. No, I don't want to get up. Oh, sigh. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go. I don't want to. Sometimes. I was in a deep sleep for like 20 minutes. We need an exciting trial, an exhilarating. Well, I know it's about the people and their justice, but I don't know if we'll ever get something like Johnny Depp again. That was maybe the best trial ever. Johnny Depp. The Letitia Stout and Gannon, that was really good, but very emotional. Wasn't necessarily fun. All aboard! Well, yeah, Kohlberger, whenever it happens next year, that's going to be the big one for sure. That is going to be the big one. I'm going to have to prepare, probably do groceries and buy a bunch of snacks so I don't have to order stuff. Have a whole plan and prep. Oh, that trial is going to be the trial of the century, maybe. We got 9,000 on the second channel. There's something wrong with the second channel as far as the algorithm. I don't know, man. When you type in police chase or whatever live, it just doesn't pop up. That's just like hidden, pages and pages behind. Something wrong with the second channel, man. I don't get it. Lost in the algorithm. The poison expert. Ooh. Poison his pharmacist wife to pay back his med school bills. Damn. I know sometimes people just cry. We don't understand why. We just cry. Oh, but my ear popped. They're back. All right, for the honorable court. The honorable judge presiding.
Could I just be approached to address that issue?
Sure. I want a trial where the judge, not the judges, but the attorneys, they're fighting, bickering back and forth, taking slick remarks and shots at each other. That was the Johnny Depp trial. Riveting, fighting, barking, back and forth, memorable clips. I'm gonna have to get up in it. Well, I'm gonna have to leave in a few minutes. I'm gonna leave the stream running, but I have to go get the baby. Get the baby. Young Thug. I heard it, Young Thug. I gotta see what's going on with that. I heard it was crazy. The Rico trial, the opening statements. Maybe we should check that out sometime. I heard that one was kind of like weird. Live, Idaho.
The reputation among the academic community would be most specifically felt in Idaho. The intense public interest and scrutiny and the people looking at you at the grocery store is all going to happen in Idaho. Because the effects test is met, so too is the purposeful direction requirement for specific jurisdiction. Plaintiff has therefore met her burden as to the first prong of personal jurisdiction. So we're going through all the prongs of personal jurisdiction. Great. Let's run the analysis. The court is not leaving anything open for discussion. The court is like, you waived it. But even if you hadn't, this is why it's here. Related to forum activities. Under the second requirement for specific jurisdiction, the plaintiff's claim must arise out of or relate to the defendant's forum-related activities. Plaintiff's allegations easily meet the standard. Plaintiff alleges that defendant's TikTok videos harmed her reputation and caused physical injury. Assuming that plaintiff's allegations are true, plaintiff would not have suffered injury but for the defendant's forum-related conduct. But for the TikToker talking about Idaho in Idaho and the University of Idaho, none of this would have happened. Plaintiff's defamation claims against defendant clearly arise out of and are related to the TikTok videos, conduct directed at the plaintiff in Idaho relating to matters taking place only in Idaho, the murders. Reasonableness. Once the plaintiff...
Yeah. We all need to fight back against these conspiracy nuts that make false allegations against people. Gotta fight back. Jamie, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, all aboard! Cracks me up every time.
Yes.
Yeah, what was that?
Actually, yeah. Could I actually just see the lawyers?
I like Young Thug. I like his music. I'm a fan of one of his albums. So let me see which one. Young Thug. Which was my album that I like? I'm looking right now. The old one. He got a lot of albums.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to remind you, you know, it's important, and I think I reminded you.
Barter Sig. I like that Barter Sig 2015
not
album.
to read or see or pay attention to anything that's going on in the media, social media, online, news. That includes anything you may see happening out in the, you know, anything that may be relevant to this case. Don't go back to the View. I told you that. So you're not allowed to be influenced by anything outside of what happens here in the courtroom and what you saw on the View.
This trial barely getting any kind of attention, so please stop it.
You need to decide the case based without passion, without prejudice, and without sympathy. This is a dispassionate process that you need to come at with that perspective. And if you have any concerns about anything along the way, you know, feel free to make sure to tell the bailiffs about it and bring it to my attention. And if it is an issue, I'll address it with you. And if it isn't,
Santa's alive.
everything's fine.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah, come on, back up.
Turn up.
Oh! Halftime. Halftime. Yeah. All right, I'll be back, guys. I'll be back in a little bit.
Thank you, Detective.
Maybe.
All right, so I think this is the slide we had just finished up on. So moving ahead to State's Exhibit 48.
Would you believe there's a technological issue?
In fairness to the lawyers, I have been dealing with other cases, so they haven't been in here, been able to play with the technology since.
My apologies.
Thank you.
The whole restart thing. Do you mind just doing the lights? Thank you. All right, so again, this is where we left off. So going back to the pool table cam, I'm going to play State's Exhibit 48. Before I hit play, similar to before, can you describe what general areas those boxes are detailing and where we should be looking?
Yeah, this just left off in the previous clip. The yellow box is where Timothy Pouliot and Michael Mendoza are talking to the three females. And down at the bottom right, big red box, is Mr. DeLee down there. In this clip, you'll see the three females walk back down towards Mr. DeLee.
Okay. Is this one of those overlaps that we were talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And just to refresh kind of everyone's memory, the last clip we had watched was the interaction between Timothy and Olivia in that group at the bar. Mr. Mendoza,
Yes.
Abby, and then we saw the woman walk back down to Mr. DeLee's area.
Yeah, this one looks like a shorter version of just a different view
Okay.
inside the goat.
All right, so this one's about 40 seconds. Okay. So going on to State's Exhibit 49. Can you describe what we're seeing here?
It's just a continuation of the previous clip. You'll see down here, it's a little bit further ahead actually, a minute or so. John DeLee talking to the three females with Gage and Matthew down the bottom right. The yellow box is where at this point Timothy Pouliot is now seated at a bar up there. In the middle of the box is a female with blonde hair. You can very vaguely make out Timmy's head of hair behind her, but in the yellow box, that's where Timothy is seated right now. And you'll see John DeLee looking up in that direction, and then he's going to walk up to the bar, have an interaction with Timothy.
Okay. And this is about a minute and a half or so.
Yes, that's accurate.
Detective, who just walked up in that tan sweatshirt?
That's Gage Chandler.
Okay. Do you mind just stepping down and pointing him out? Okay. And I want to bounce back up to the main and sidebar camera that captures that area of the bar, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, states 50. Can you just quickly point out what we're seeing there?
Same as the last clip, just a different angle right here. Red box is where DeLee is with his associates down there, the females, and Saldana and Chandler. And then up top in the yellow box, you can see Timothy seated at the bar right there by himself.
And this clip is a little bit longer. It's about 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Given the length of it, can you give us just a general overview on where we should be looking kind of as the video progresses?
I guess there's several parts here. Where we left off last time, you saw Gage and John DeLee up there. After the interaction between DeLee and Pouliot, you see a couple of bouncers. Okay, we'll go here again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Detective.
Job here to see those chicks. Get
See a
close
couple of
up.
bouncers come
Zoom in.
here, intervene.
Zoom in
Gage
on
is
the
going to
chick.
end up over here for the duration of the video, top of the ramp. John DeLee will talk to bouncers momentarily. He's going to walk back down the ramp where the girls are to Matthew. As time passes, Timothy is eventually going to come down here too. He's going to be talking to
I'll be
bouncers
back.
as well. He's going to walk down here. He's going to talk to Miss Mendoza. You can see that the same coat, that's him right there. And then there's going to be an interaction between Mr. Mendoza and Mr. DeLee. The bouncers are again going to come in, separate that interaction. And you're going to see all involved parties hopping up the ramp, up around this way, out towards the entrance, either escorted out by staff or walking out with their friends.
Thank you, Detective. Yeah, so our place states 50. All right, so the beginning part of that video, given the angles of the cameras, I'm assuming the pool table cam also caught part of that?
Yeah, so that one does reach up to the main bar area.
Okay. So looking ahead to states 51, and again, we're going back to that pool table cam looking up. Is that area where that interaction occurred that we just saw?
Yes.
The beginning part of the interaction.
Yes, John DeLee is already up, standing over Timmy, who's seated at the bar, right there in the red box.
Okay, and this clip's shorter, 15 to 20 seconds?
Yes, I believe this is the quicker clip, yes.
All right, so right after that, we saw in the last clip, the defendant comes down the ramp eventually.
Yes, at the top of the ramp, we'll talk to bouncers momentarily before coming back down. Group of friends.
And does the next clip capture that?
Yes.
This is State's Exhibit 52. What's happening in that box right there?
That's where John DeLee is talking with staff from the GOAT.
Okay. And before I hit play, what should we be looking for from this camera angle?
This would be Mr. DeLee walking back down here along that tabletop bar. He'll be talking to Matthew and the three females at the bottom of the ramp.
And once they're down there, anything of significance happen?
Eventually, Timmy's going to come to the top of the ramp as well, make his way down. That's where he speaks to Mr. Mendoza.
So State's Exhibit 52. All right, so the next clip is State's Exhibit 53. Does this next clip pick up where this one's leaving off?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Where should we be focusing as we're watching State's 53?
I'm really focusing down at the bottom of the ramp. Mr. DeLee is right there in the North Face sweatshirt. You're going to see Mr. Pouliot come down the ramp.
Detective, sorry to interrupt you. Do you mind hopping
Oh,
down?
yeah,
again?
sorry. I apologize. So right now, Timmy's up here talking to staff. Come down the ramp. Talk to Mike Mendoza right here. You're going to see the interaction between Mike Mendoza and Jonathan DeLee right here. And then they're all going to be escorted up that ramp right there.
Yeah.
So right here is what we want to focus on.
Okay. Thank you, Detective. So again, State's 53. Do you recognize this clip?
Yes, I do.
This is States 54. This looks a little bit different than the footage we just watched. Where was this footage taken from?
This is taken by a patron at the bar. The last clip, if you notice, there's somebody with a cell phone standing up and you see a blinking light. There's a bystander taking cell phone video. This is what this is right here.
Okay. Obviously, I was turning the speaker up, but does this have sound?
Yes, this one has audio and video for it.
Okay. Going back to the goat surveillance from that video, did the main bar window catch the rest of that exit from the bar?
Yes, this one does not cover the interaction, but it covers all parties being escorted out or leaving the goat.
Okay. And no sound on this one, or is there sound?
No, it's from the goats. We're back to just video.
And if you can, I apologize, lots of video. If you can come down and just point where we should be looking, where people are going to be coming from and going to.
So everybody's going to be coming up from off camera right here, top the ramps right about here. You're going to walk up this way. You're going to see Mendoza and Nash first, followed by DeLee, Solgano. Chandler goes before them, but they're all coming out this way right here. And at the end of the video, right about here in the middle, you're going to see an interaction between Timothy Pouliot and Abby Elliott.
All right. Thank you, Detective. Not sure if I said it, so States 55. Okay, so now let's move outside. So this is States 2. We've seen this before. A different version of this is States 56. Looks a little chaotic. Can you describe for us what we're seeing in this diagram?
Yeah. This is an aerial view, just to orient everybody. This is Granite Street, heading westbound towards Granite Street Bridge. Old Granite Street kind of runs parallel to it. Franklin Street runs this way. Hampshire Lane runs through here. This is Elm Street, north-south, so the SHU Arena will be here off screen. Each color is going to kind of differentiate or notate cameras that we were able to recover during this investigation.
Any significance other than differentiation?
Color-wise, no, it's just to give a better idea of which cameras where.
Okay. And for purposes of just our understanding in the record, we can see, again, similar angles to in the bar. Are those, laser measured perfect angles, or are those approximations?
No, everything here is approximate.
Okay. I noticed that as we move in front of 36 Old Granite Street, or Makerspace, there's several different numbers. So there's two numbers for the camera right on Old Granite Street. Then it looks like there's a number in between Exhibit 58 and then Exhibit 60 and 61. What was that camera depicting? Or what was that clip depicting?
36 Old Granite Street is here. You're here by the blue. That's going to give you a view westerly on Old Granite Street. The red one right here is from 54 Old Granite Street. That's going to have audio and video. That's going to give you a view easterly on Old Granite Street. So kind of when you sync 36 and 54, it's going to give you a full street view, kind of capture everything, the events out there. You'll notice when you're viewing from 54 Old Granite Street, there's a goat sign hanging out off the building. It kind of obstructs some stuff in here. You'll hear audio, but again, you won't be able to see it. But 36 Old Granite Street will give you that broader picture where it all comes together, if that makes sense.
So I'm going to break this down a little bit. I think it's self-explanatory, but let's just go through it a little bit because there's a lot of colors going on. So, so right here, we can see EX65. What camera angles and where is that business?
This is Soho, right here, Bar and Grill or Bistro. That's 20 Old Granite Street. There's one camera that's going to cover out into Old Granite Street. And there's a side camera here that's going to cover down Hampshire Lane and over the backside of the Canoco parking lot.
Okay. And you just explained the cameras from 36 Old Granite and 54, so I'll skip past that, and then we can see I'm not sure what color that is, a pink-purple EX63.
Yeah, this is going to be 64 Old Granite Street, and that's just going to give you another view easterly of Old Granite Street.
Okay. And across the street, EX64, that green color?
Yeah, this is the parking garage for the center of New Hampshire. There's where it jets out right here to the corner. It's pretty accurate where that circle is. There is a camera there that's going to give them some bird's eye view. It's going to cover all the way across the parking lot, Old Granite Street, up through Town Street over here.
Okay. And moving back into the Bank of America, EX67.
This one is another cell phone video that we collected in the investigation. There's a couple of bystanders out here. One of them had cell phone video of the shooting itself.
Okay.
And that's just approximate where it was shot from.
Okay. And then that last one I think you said was from Canoco?
Yeah, this is 570 Elm Street right here at the Canoco gas station. We have a camera on the kind of corner of the building right here. Soho 1's going to give you a view easterly of this area. The Canoco is going to give you a view westerly of kind of the same area.
How's the quality of that footage?
Out of all the videos, Canoco is the worst one that we have. It's very difficult, kind of grainy, I guess, best way to put it.
Okay. All right. And again, that was State's Exhibit 56 in total, that diagram. So if we can, Detective, we can have you go back to your seat, but let's start with State's Exhibit 58. And again, you said this is from 54 Old Granite Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, and this is State's 56. Do you recognize this area?
Yeah, that's the area of Old Granite Street. The goat's there, then 54 Old Granite, 64 Old Granite.
And in that red circle, what's that highlighting?
That's a camera affixed to the outside of 54 Old Granite Street that we recovered video from.
Okay. And I know it's hard to see, and we're going to zoom in and actually watch the video, but does that clip right there, does that look consistent and reasonably reflect the footage angle that was taken from that camera?
Yes, it does.
So this is State's 58, and this video is a little over 7 minutes long. So before I play it, similar to when we were inside the goat, can you just help orient us and direct our attention?
Yes, it'll be easier to identify.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
This is the goat right here, 50 Old Granite Street. The entry exit's going to be right here, so you're going to see the involved parties start coming out. Mendoza and Nash are going to walk across the street and get inside this white vehicle right here. Gage Chandler, Mazzotto, and John DeLee are going to walk up together on the sidewalk. 3 females will follow them out shortly after. They're kind of all going to congregate in this general area right here. But again, this is the one that's obstructed by the sign. If you look closely, you'll be able to see legs down there, but that's the general area they're going to be at. As the video progresses, you'll see Nash Mendoza exit this vehicle, come over to this general area right here, that white car on this side of the road, and during the court, about a minute and a half in, you're going to see Mr. Pouliot come out and start walking this way. As the video progresses, you see Mr. Pouliot start walking back up this way from the sidewalk. You are going to hear the audio of the loud popping noise, which we know to be consistent with gunshots. When you hear those gunshots, you'll see a lot of people heading out this way, and then they'll just roll on for a little bit, and you'll see the MPD response. There'll be multiple cruisers coming this way and down here on Elm Street.
So there's going to be audio on this one.
Yes, this is the one that has outdoor audio, yes.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to play States 58. At some point. Detective, looking at that white car, who just got out of the car?
It's Trent Nash.
All right, detective. Let's move up to 36 Old Granite Street. Do you recognize this? This is State's Exhibit 59.
Yes, this is a Google Street view of 36 Old Granite Street.
Similar to before, what is the blue circle highlighting?
It's indicating an exterior camera that we were able to recover footage from.
And does this clip represent the angle and what that camera was documenting?
Yes, it does.
So moving on to State's Exhibit 60. Is this that camera angle?
Yes, it is.
And this clip's about 4.5 minutes long. What are some of the areas that we should be focusing on, and can you just help orient where we're looking?
So at this point, you're going to have your westerly view down Old Granite Street. Internationally, we talked about the curve right here is no longer blocked by that sign. So we get a full picture of what's going on over here. Again, just a reminder, Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Nash, took over this white car right here. Mr. DeLee, Soldano, and Chandler and his friends come up this way. We're all going to congregate right about here at the three females. There is an interaction with Mr. Nash behind the vehicle. You'll see one with Mr. Mendoza in front of this vehicle. Then Mr. DeLee, Chandler, and Soldano will walk up the sidewalk right here. The females remain here. Nash and Mendoza will start walking the street. We'll park right about here in the middle, I guess. And then you're going to see Timothy Pouliot coming up this way. And then he gets up this way. You're going to see Abby Elliott run after him and kind of push him right as we get off screen right here. And then all the male subjects will be off camera view. The three females will be in this general area leading up to the shooting incident.
Okay. Thank you, Detective. And again, this one won't have audio. It was the last one, correct?
This will be just video, yes.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to State's Exhibit 61. Same camera angle, correct?
Yes.
This has just been zoomed in and shortened a minute and a half or so.
Yeah, this is the zoomed in version.
Okay. So that white car on the right-hand side, based on your previous testimony, that's the car we're going to see Mr. Mendoza and Mr. Nash get into, and
Yes.
then the interaction that you were describing is going to happen to the left side of the screen. You're the white car on the
Yeah,
left
the
side.
other white car, yes.
Yeah. And this is State 61, if I didn't say it. Who's in that tan sweatshirt on the left-hand side on the sidewalk right there?
That's Gage Chandler.
Okay. And who do we see coming up on the left?
That's Matthew Saldano. And then Mr. DeLee with his arms out right now.
Moving ahead, you described this exhibit, the next exhibit, State's Exhibit 62, was a combination of 36 Old Granite Street and 54 Old Granite Street, right?
Yes.
Synced up, side by side?
Yes.
Okay. Is it perfectly synced up?
Might be off by a second or two.
Okay.
But it's going to give you the perspective, east and west, to come together.
Okay. What's happening at this point?
Mr. Nash is walking over to Mr. DeLee.
Who's that walking up on the left in the black and white screen?
It's Timothy, the one he's found now.
Now I want to move the other direction. I want to go down from the goat. All right, so down to 64 Old Granite Street. This is State's Exhibit 63, and we're going to do a similar thing. Do you recognize this photograph? You already identified it as State's 57. Can you recognize where that yellow circle is highlighting?
Yes, that's from an exterior camera that we recovered footage from.
Okay, and is that from 64 Old Granite Street?
Yes, it's a red. You can see 64 fixed just above that white rectangular sign there.
And then similarly, is the clip that you can see right there, that still image, is that what is depicted in the video?
Yes, that's accurate.
And is this that video?
Yes, it is.
This is State 63. The video itself is about 3.5 minutes long, correct?
Yes.
And I'm just gonna play about 2 minutes of that. All right, the first 2 minutes or so. Actually, I think we have an idea, but can you just stand back up and just orient us to where we're looking, where everything is?
So we're going to be looking easterly again. This is that white vehicle. The nose and Nash are in. The goat's going to be up here. It's very hard to see. There's some brick right there. That's the entry exit way. And in this video, you're going to see Mr. Pouliot come down this way, walking westerly down on Granite Street on the sidewalk.
All right. Thank you, Detective. All right, State's Exhibit 63. And no audio for this one?
No.
All right. Now let's move across the street to State's Exhibit 64. That green angle, I think you testified earlier, it was from the parking garage?
Yes.
Okay. Is this still depicting what we're going to see in the video?
Yes, it is.
And just describe for us, in general, what to expect on this. This clip's about 4 minutes long, correct?
Yes.
And can you just stand up, walk us through what we're seeing and what we can expect to see and where we should focus our attention?
So based on previous video, that's the white car, Mendoza and Nash. The interaction's gonna be behind this white car, front of the white car. You can see the parties separate. Mr. DeLee and his associates walk this way, all the way up the sidewalk into Hampshire Lane area right here. There's a tree here and on the side of so you kind of lose sight a little bit. Mr. Mendoza and Mr. Nash come this way, up through here. You'll eventually see Mr. Nash head over this way, kind of behind the truck, right at the corner. There'll be some other people there. You'll see Mr. Mendoza briefly cross in front of these headlights. He is right here. And you'll see Mr. Pouliot coming up this way in the street. And then Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Nash, and Pouliot are all gonna congregate right here. You'll see Mr. DeLee, Mr. Sonato also up here. And it's gonna capture the shooting. You'll be able to see muzzle flashes right about here.
Thank you, Detective. And again, it's about 4 minutes long, and this is State 64.
Let's see something. Does this? Lord, if I can make it look a little decent, kinda. Okay. I'm back. I've been kind of listening to what's going on. Who started what? Who's culpable? In self-defense cases, usually they testify. He might testify. I don't know. The prosecution wanted him to testify. They're trying to get a judge or order him to testify, but I guess I don't know what came of it. It would be very interesting to see him testify. A little tough because I'm almost trying to remember the order sequence of how like things happened. I might have to find an article, but I mean there were a few exchanges. The most memorable one was like when I thought John walked over to Tim at the bar and was talking to him, I think confronting him about what this chick Abby went and snitched about. And at some point, John pushed him at the bar. And then security comes. And they separate. I don't know when they shook hands. At some point they shook hands. I don't know if that was before or after. I guess that was before. They should have, even just for the jury, they should have somebody come and kind of clean up a little bit the timeline and sequence. But then Timmy walks by John and his friends at the bar. Somebody at the bar, was that Mendoza, sucker punches Tim. And Tim's bleeding. I don't know if at that point Tim was bleeding from his face from the ring, or was that when Timmy punched him at the end when he got shot? And so that escalates. And then they go outside, right? And then Tim's friends are approaching John. John is standing outside talking a lot of ish, saying "fight me." Tim's friends, one of them walks over.
2 minutes. I'm gonna zoom in.
Apparently to try to talk, gets punched in the face, and then another guy, one of Tim's friends, walks over with pepper spray. I don't know if he pepper sprayed him or not, but he tried to pepper spray him, and that's when Tim pulls out his gun, and it drops.
Do you want to step up and can you just point out?
And it
what
picks
we're
back
seeing?
up.
And I can
Then-
actually back up. That way you can.
John is walking away, and the group of people, Tim's friends, try to follow him, or they do follow him. You know,
So who's walking in front of Soho right now?
You can see Gage Chandler, John DeLee, Matthew Saldano. 1, 2, 3.
He's right there.
Trent Dash and Michael Mendoza.
you want a little more volume? Okay, I'll try to bump it up a little bit. Just keep in mind, like, there's gonna be more background noise, but I'll try to bump it up a little bit more. It's kind of tough because some of the lawyers aren't standing by their mics, but the witnesses are on their mics the entire time, so you have different audio levels. But I'll bump it up some more. It shouldn't be bad if you're on your cell phone without headphones. It won't be bad. If you have headphones, it might be kind of, I don't know. Yeah, Abby hasn't testified.
Timothy Pouliot right there.
I think Abby's going to be a defense witness. Is there? All right, so BL, can you send me the timeline? Then I'll take a look at it, and maybe when we get a break, I'll go over it. You can send me the timeline. I had an article yesterday, but I lost all my saved articles. I kind of went through it. Okay, no rush, BL. But whenever you, if you find like an article or something, I think it would be good to go over that.
What
we can
area should we be looking for the gunshots?
might be good to look at. And listen, everybody can disagree in the chat. People have different opinions. No problem with that either. And I talked about Pablo Lyle yesterday. I thought he was within his right, but apparently he got charged. The Miami incident, the Mexico, I don't know, actor that punched the guy that was road raging.
Who's walking right there?
It's John DeLee walking back down Hampshire Lane.
Thank you, Detective.
Yeah, I still need to kind of add some more volume. Let me try something else. I don't know if it's going to add too much volume.
So going back to our diagram, now we're up to Soho. Correct. You already explained the angles of this.
Yes.
In relation to those two angles, we saw those gunshots on that parking garage footage. Was the actual shooting captured on either of these angles that we're about to see?
There's a very small blind spot. You will see Timothy Pouliot fall into one of the camera angles, and you'll be able to see some bullet hitting the street, causing defects, a little sparking, if you will.
Okay.
True. Okay. I'll push it up some
Is
more.
this a split screen? This is State's Exhibit 65. My apologies. Is this a split screen of both Cam 3 and Cam 4?
Yes, right now you're looking at Cam 3, which covers Old Granite Street.
And by the way, just a warning: they may show him again get shot, Tim. So if they do, just giving you a heads up. I can't control it. It's a live stream. So if you don't want to see that, I don't think it's particularly too graphic. You don't see blood or anything, but you're seeing somebody's last moments.
So who do we have walking up here?
Go back or
Yeah, to back up. Absolutely.
John DeLee, Matthew Saldano, PhD on there. Mendoza, Trent Nash.
I wish they would pivot the camera a little bit over.
Right here, whereabout is Trent Nash and Mendoza?
Mike Mendoza is right there, and Trent Nash is right there.
Or you can maybe see a little bit better with the zoom.
So where should we be looking now?
You can see Timmy Pouliot right here.
Right, Detective. You can stay right there, please. So you had mentioned you could see bullets hitting the pavement, correct?
Yes.
Before we go to that, the timestamp on the video that we can see in the upper right-hand corner of the videos says 1 a.m., 48 minutes, and 38 seconds. Is that accurate?
No, it's about an hour and 3 minutes or so.
Fast, okay. And are some of those other video clips that have timestamps, are those off a little bit?
A few seconds here and there, but they're generally ballpark.
Okay.
Accurate.
And now at this point, I'll come forward. Who's this?
John DeLee?
Okay, and we can see him reaching for something.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, where is Mr. Mendoza and Mr. Nash?
Mr. Mendoza is right there. It's very hard to see. And Mr. Nash is behind that truck in the dark corner. This area.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the Bank of America parking lot?
Yeah, sorry, it is. Yeah.
That's not the alleyway?
No.
Okay. How about Mr. Pouliot?
He's down the sidewalk down here. You can't see him right now, but eventually he'll come into view and he'll come off the street this way.
Okay. Just 1 second, Detective. I'll go back up there. Just 1 step back. Detective, can I actually have you step back and point out on the same thing that we just did up there back here for the benefit of
May I just stand over?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right, so same question.
Okay.
You testified this is the defendant, correct?
Yes, Mr. DeLee.
Okay. And where were Mr. Mendoza and Mr. Nash at this point?
It's hard to see, but that actually is Mr. Mendoza right there on the sidewalk. Mr. Nash, based on the video you're seeing, you know, he's on the side of that pickup truck over there.
I'm just gonna ask you the same questions. So this area here, I pointed up there, that's the Bank of America parking lot.
Yeah, it's Bank of America parking lot across from the Soho.
Okay. This isn't the alleyway.
No, sir.
Okay. And then in this picture, approximately where is Timothy Pouliot?
All right, somewhere down here on the sidewalk, walking in the direction. Video progresses, you'll see him come out here. Come on the street right there.
Now, Detective, before I hit play on this, can you just tell us what we're looking on this? This is the same footage, correct?
Yes.
Just zoomed in?
Yep.
Okay. Where are we looking at in this camera angle?
This is from camera 3 zoomed in. You're going to be looking at Old Granite Street again. This is the view. It's going to catch Mr. Pouliot falling backwards right about here. You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, either an impact on the pavement or somebody's you'll see an actual spark for the projectile hitting the pavement and skipping off.
I'm going to back it up and then do it again because I think it's starting to play. So we should be looking right to left as far as the circles go.
Yeah, it's going to work this way.
Okay. Thank you. And I know that happened quick. I'll play it one more time just to make sure for the people that it's their first time seeing it.
Wow.
And now, Detective, I'm going to have you sit down for 1 second. I'm going to try to unplug this one.
Oh.
So the footage we just watched was a compilation or a side-by-side of camera 3 and camera 4, correct?
Yes.
Okay. For the exhibit, they'll have the jurors will have the compilation, but they'll also have the individual videos?
Yes, there's,
The
yeah.
full-size videos?
Yep.
Okay. Just gonna pull up. So same exhibit for purposes of the record. This is about 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Just hit play. So this is the alleyway. Is that correct?
Yes, that's Hampshire Lane.
Apologize. Pause that real quick and get rid of that. Apologize. So again, we talked about this a little bit earlier with the VLC player. The controls on there.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Just let me know when is a good time to take the afternoon break. We've gone a little more than an hour here.
Probably have about 7 minutes.
Okay.
So we're gonna go over this
Take like an
PDF.
hour, I can just get through these last ones.
That be all set.
Try to
Sure.
close up.
When they take a break.
So this is State 66. This is the Kanoko station footage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you would describe this as kind of poor quality.
Yes.
All right. Is this what that footage looked like?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna play. It's about 3.5 minutes long. I'm gonna play about the first 2.5 to 3 minutes, and then we'll stop. Okay. And I hate to pause, but the audio that we're hearing, is that related to the actual camera?
No, I think it was inadvertent when detectives were downloading it or getting it from the store clerk. It's inside audio from the download of the video. It does not capture anything outside.
Okay. I'm gonna remove the audio just so it doesn't distract. And who's walking down the alley to the left?
That's John DeLee right there. These people walking related or unrelated to the event? Nope, unrelated.
Yeah. So on it there, the other Soho camera angle that's a little bit more clear, that picks up the next part of that, correct?
Yeah, it's almost like I guess, mirror image to describe it. One's facing toward down, Kanoko, one's facing towards Soho.
Okay. States Exhibit 67, where was this collected from?
This was the bystander cell phone video of the actual shooting.
Okay. Is there audio with this?
Yeah, it's just like a cell phone video. There will be audio and video of it.
So I'm going to play a little bit of it, then I'm going to pause, ask you to identify who we're seeing, and then I'll back it up and play it through.
Okay.
This is fairly short video.
Yes, I believe it's only like 12, 13 seconds-ish.
So maybe I'll just let it play instead of messing with the tech, and then we'll play it through. So if you can stand up and just come over and tell us who we're looking at or watching the video before I hit play. If
By
you
the way,
can
this
identify
might be
who
the
you can
video
see
they
right
show him
there.
getting shot.
Right now you can see Gage Chan on the sidewalk,
I'm not sure.
John DeLee. Actually made it worse. This close up, sorry. Matthew Saldano and Timothy Pouliot.
Okay.
Yeah, this is it. FYI. You can't really see much anyway.
I just want to back it up. And I'm going to try to pause it. Right. So from this angle, who are we looking at in this still?
Timothy Pouliot, John DeLee, Michael Mendoza, Matthew Saldano, Trent Nash.
Okay. And where you pointed out Mr. Chandler earlier. Did you just point him out, or did I miss it?
No, he's off screen now. The original angle, he was over here,
Okay.
and then the street's house kind of obstructing right here, but now these guys are more on screen, but Gage Chandler's going to be off.
All right. Now, there's a lot going on in a short period of time. So let's start with Trenton Nash and Mr. Mendoza. What do we see them do in the video?
They're going to turn and run this way.
Okay. And Mr. Saldana, what does he do?
He's going to kind of put his hand on his head and start walking back towards Hampshire Lane.
Okay. All right. So play it one more time.
These guys are all talking. You go close. Hey, get back here, back here.
Thank you, Detective Lovejoy. If you can have your seat, I have no further questions, Your Honor. That's
All right. We'll just take a short afternoon recess and then we'll.
Yes, I realize.
Okay. So let's take a look at the PDF. They're taking a little break. I don't know if it's so open and shut. I'm not. All right. So this is from the state. Important events of the evening of January 27 into the early morning hours of January 28. Mr. DeLee, which is John, and his friends Soldano, and Chandler were all at the Goat nightclub on Old Granite Street in Manchester, as were Mr. Pouliot, which is Timothy, and his friends Mendoza and Nash were also at the Goat. Also at the Goat, a friend of Mr. DeLee, Miss Elliot, Oral, and two of her friends, which I guess is what was that chick's name? The snitch. Oh, the snitch. The first interaction between Mr. DeLee and Pouliot occurred when, according to Miss Elliot Orr, Timothy and one of his friends were a little too close to Miss Elliot Orr and her friends. According to Miss Elliot Orr, Mr. DeLee and Pouliot, John and Timothy, had some heated words, and they shook hands, and Timothy walked away. That was one of the clips that we saw. Later, according to Miss Elliot Orr, she heard Timothy say words to the effect that he could punch that big kid over there, meaning John, in the face and knock him out with one punch, and that he was a professional fighter. She also reports that she heard Timothy's friend, Mr. Mendoza, say that he was going to knock him, meaning John, out before the end of the night. Miss Elliot reports that she told John about what she heard, and that John flashed his gun and said, "I'm not worried, I have protection." The next relevant interaction, so this is kind of, it's interesting to see this. Timothy and one of his friends are a little too close. They had some heated words, shook hands, walked away. So at that point, it still wasn't that. It could have just been done there. I mean, I feel like there's multiple points where it could have just been done. But then Tim's friend says, I could punch that big kid over there in the face, knock him out with one punch. Oh, no, sorry. Tim said that. And that he was a professional fighter. And then she heard Tim's friend Mendoza say that he was going to knock him out, meaning John, before the end of the night. Miss Elliott reports that she told John about what she heard and that John flashed his gun. I'm not worried. I have protection. In the next relevant interaction, John approached Tim at the bar and they exchanged words for a bit over half a minute. A person Tim had been talking with reports that during the exchange, John challenged Tim to go out and fight. Okay. Let's go outside. Thank you, BL Abby. Let's go outside, handle this like men, which is kind of typical sometimes, especially back then. Like, let's go outside. Let's take it outside. At the end of the exchange, John pushed Tim, bouncers intervened, and escorted John away. A little less than 2 minutes later, Tim's friend, Mr. Mendoza, approached John and punched him in the face. We saw that on video too. Tim walks by John in the bar. It's almost as if he knew that was going to happen. I don't know. He walks by John in the bar, and then he's just like hanging out in that vicinity. And then Mendoza comes and like sucker punches John. And then they wrestled on the floor. During this altercation, John sustained a visible cut to his face. Oh, that's when it happened. Okay. Bouncers intervened and escorted John out of the GOAT. While John was being escorted, and after he reached the sidewalk outside, he was visibly agitated, repeatedly and loudly yelling words to the effect, "Who punched me? Who punched me in the face? I'll fight you." Which we saw that and heard that too. While John and his two friends were on the sidewalk to the right of the entrance of the GOAT, Timothy exited the GOAT and walked away to the left. We saw that in video as well. Timothy's two friends, Mr. Mendoza and Nash, exited the GOAT, crossed the street, and got into the car. Nash, smoking a cigarette, then exited the car, crossed the street towards John and John's friends. John and Nash exchanged words, and John punched Nash. We did see that as well. They exchanged a few more words. Then John visibly offered to shake. Oh, really? Then John visibly offered to shake Nash's hand. Nash visibly declined, and John then hit Nash with a second punch. At no point did Mr. Nash resist or fight back. At that point, Mendoza exited the car and crossed the street to approach Mr. John and friends. John pointed what has been determined to be pepper spray. Mendoza pointed what has been determined to be pepper spray canister at John in a close proximity. John pulled a firearm out of his waistband, dropped it, and picked it up and racked it. He does not appear from the video evidence to have pointed the gun directly at Mendoza. Mendoza backed off, and John's friends pushed John, escorting him away northward up the sidewalk. John reached the alleyway to the north of Soho nightclub. By then, he had put the gun back in his waistband. That alley led to the parking lot where John and his friends had left their car. John walked down the alley, but then started walking back, which we just saw that too. Drew the gun and then put the gun away. One of his friends pointed and pushed him in a visible effort to get John to walk down the alley towards their car. In the meantime, Tim's friends, Mendoza and Nash, followed John and his friends to the north to a location across the street from the alley entrance. At about the same time, Timothy had reversed direction despite Miss Elliott's efforts to stop him and despite Mendoza yelling he's got a gun. Walked back past the GOAT to approach John and John's friends near the entrance to the alley, as is apparent in Exhibit 9. A bystander's cell phone video at that point, John and Timothy and at least three of John's friends and Timothy's friends were standing in a rough circle. What was said cannot be heard, but Timothy can plainly be seen punching John in the face. John immediately raised his gun and fired multiple shots into Timothy. John then walked down the alley with his gun still out, but then turned back with the gun put away and put his hands up. Okay. That's tough, man. It's kind of tough. That is, it's just a situation where like so many people could have like, deterred this and walked away. So many people could have not jumped in and hit somebody. Whether it was Tim, whether it was John, whether it was Tim's friends. John's friends, at least, seemed to be the most people that were like trying to like de-escalate. I mean, that whole point at the end where John gets punched. I mean, they're both in circles surrounding each other. I still think it's a bit cowardly to just start shooting somebody like that. But at the same time, I don't know if you're carrying a gun and you're thinking about all these people know that I have a gun, and if I somehow get knocked out or incapacitated, they could take my gun and kill me. I don't know if that's the mentality somebody's carrying it. You've already let everybody know that you're carrying, and then you get approached. I don't know, man. And if it was Florida, I'd probably say he'd probably get away with it. Like John, probably, but since it's New Hampshire, I don't know. He'd had better chances in Florida. Check the Facebook page. Here we go. I mean, they're both in circle. The first interaction with problems where this was when John said that that Tim was standing a little too close with these girls, and they had a conversation, shook hands. But the first person to touch somebody was when John pushed Tim. Still wasn't that bad, but he pushed him. And then the first punch was Tim's friend when he sucker punched John.
Good morning, it's Detective, right?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Detective. Since for whatever reason that's, it is noticeable.
This is defense now.
Or not. Could I ask you to step over to the screen for a moment?
Sure.
I wish the people would use their mics.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm showing you State's Exhibit 67. And if you could look one more time, could you identify us where Trenton Nash is? All right, wearing a white T-shirt, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And he's wearing a white T-shirt from the beginning of this video, correct?
Yes, at some point outside he takes his jacket off just for this interaction.
Okay. And so, this is, I've got it at 1:22 on State's Exhibit 65. 1 minute and 22 seconds. Is that Trenton Nash crossing the street? In the middle of Old Granite Street?
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah, the white sleeve is on, yes.
All right, and what's he wearing there?
I did his jacket on.
Okay. And he crosses the street and walks basically off screen into the middle, into the gap between the two camera angles, correct?
Yeah, he ended up in that blind spot between three and four.
Okay. And I'm just going to play till that part of it. All right, and he's off screen now, right?
Yes.
We never see him again with his coat on, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
And we don't actually see him take the coat off.
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
That's it.
Anything further?
Nothing further on.
All right, you can step down. You're all set.
Okay, what else do we got for today? Are they going to rebuttal? Oh, he's done. Okay.
Are the state calls Nyla Baramovich?
The volume just seems so much lower now. It's almost as if they don't have the lights activated. This reminds me of some of my stuff too. Some of the situations, the two situations I think. One in Miami when I first came to Florida, like in 2001, the end of 2001, and then one time in New York, where I got the shit knocked out of me. I mean, I wasn't fully knocked out, but like I blacked out for a few seconds on the way to the floor. I came back when I hit the floor. Those two stories I've told before. And another situation where it was almost like this situation.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you will be giving will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Listen.
Good afternoon.
Could you, before you begin, so you have water up there with you, which is fine. And there's a microphone that's right in front of you. That's kind of gray. So if I can't hear you, I'll ask you to speak up, but just so you know that that's there too, okay?
Thank you.
Could you state your name, and would you spell your first and last name for the record for us?
It's Ayla Baramovich. It's AJLABAJRAMO, V as in Victor, IC.
Sounds like you've done that before. Where are you from?
Manchester.
Manchester? How long have you lived here about?
Over 20 years.
Is that about how old you are?
Yep.
So you were living in Manchester in January of this year, is that right? Where were you working at that time?
I was at the GOAT.
You were at the GOAT? And what was your position there? What did you do there?
I was just hosting.
Hosting? About how long had you been working there?
About like 4 months.
Are you still working there now?
No.
What was the last time that you'd been to the GOAT?
The Monday after the shooting.
So I want to take you back to that time, so January 27th, that night, into the early morning of January 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe for us what your plans were on that evening?
I had gotten dinner with one of my friends, and then we had gone to the GOAT to go see our friend Sarah.
So who was the friend that you went to the GOAT with?
Kayla.
And what's Kayla's last name?
Norton.
And you were going to meet a friend named Sarah?
Yep.
Was there anybody else with you?
Nope, just me and Kayla.
So do you have an idea about when you guys arrived at the GOAT?
Say around 11:30.
Did you know Timothy Pouliot that night, or before that night, I should say?
I'd just seen him there from working there, but I've never had an interaction with him.
Was anybody that you were with a friend of Timmy's?
Sarah was.
So going back to that evening, I'm going to move you forward now. You said you were at the bar, so about around 12:30 a.m., so towards the end of the evening. What happened in the bar around that time?
Sarah, I was bringing her home, and she was closing her tab, and she was taking her time, so I had gone up to her, and I was like, come on, Sarah, and she was talking to Timmy. So then we all just kind of started talking, and then John had come up behind me, and I'm tall, so somebody was overtowering me, and I was uncomfortable, and he had started talking to Timmy, telling him to go outside, and that he was going to meet him outside, and Timmy was saying no. So I had worked there, so not at the time, I wasn't working at the time, but I had gone over to grab a bouncer, but at that time, Brian had already walked over.
So I'm going to stop you and walk you back through that just a little more slowly so we know everybody we're talking about. So you're first at the bar because Sarah's closing out her tab?
Yeah.
Okay. And Timmy's there with you guys?
Yep, Timmy was talking to Sarah at the time.
All right. And what are you just kind of standing waiting for them?
Yeah, I was telling her that I was like, we were all ready to go, and then her and Timmy were taking snapshots, so we just kind of were Snapchatting off her phone, and that was about it.
Who was supposed to be leaving with you that night?
We were taking Sarah with us, Kayla Norton was with me, and Cole Capano.
Cole Capano. Okay, so that was another friend.
Yeah.
And you said that John came over. Did you know, who is this?
The defendant.
The defendant? Okay. Do you see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you just describe him by something he's wearing or where he's...
Yep, he's wearing a suit jacket and a black tie.
May the record just reflect that this identified the defendant, right? Had you met John before that night?
No.
So can you describe for me again what was making you uncomfortable in that moment?
Just having somebody overtower me, and you could tell that he was like standing above me and behind me, and I was just uncomfortable because somebody was like above me.
And were you standing right next to Timmy when this was happening?
I was standing right behind Sarah, and Timmy was to her left.
And then can you describe for me again what you were hearing for a conversation? What was happening?
John had walked over and was telling Timmy that he was going to meet him outside, and then he was telling him to go outside, and Timmy was saying no.
And did this just happen once, or was this said more than one time?
It was like 2 or 3 times.
Other than physically, the fact that he was taller than you, what was the defendant's demeanor like? Like, what was he?
It was like forceful, like kind of yelling at somebody to go outside, to meet them outside, like starting a fight. So that's where I went over to grab a bouncer because it was like starting to spur up a little.
Okay. And so you walked away from the bar at that point to get a bouncer?
Yep.
Were you able to get somebody before things started to happen?
As I was talking to the bouncer, pointing out where it was happening, Brian had already walked over.
And do you know what Brian's last name is?
Brian DeLee, I think.
Okay.
He's a bouncer at the GOAT.
Okay. So he had walked over and intervened before you came back?
Yep.
What was, you've described, so you said you're 5'9"?
Yep.
Okay. And that felt tall to you to have the defend over you? How tall was Timmy compared to you?
He was shorter, so like 5'1" maybe.
Get off before they.
What happened at that point? Once Brian Delaney got involved and broke things up, what did you see happening at that point?
I saw John going back down to the dance floor. Timmy was still up at the bar from what I could see with Sarah. And then Sarah had walked over to us, and we were about to leave until there was a fight down on the dance floor.
Okay. And was that something that you were a part of at all? Did you...
No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we just have a record, so I have to remind you to keep your voice up so you can hear it. Did you leave after that fight had been broken up?
We couldn't leave because the cop was standing at the railing and telling everybody just to clear the way, so we kind of just stood to the side.
And then where did you go after you were allowed to leave?
We started to leave the GOAT.
And then where did you go when you left the GOAT?
To my car that was parked outside of the lot outside of the GOAT.
So you were the one that was the driver that night?
Yep.
And again, who was leaving with you? Who was in your car?
Kayla Norton, Sarah Butterworth, and Cole Capano.
And where were they in the vehicle?
Kayla Norton was in my the passenger seat. I was in the driver's seat. Cole Capano was behind me, and Sarah was to the right side.
So when you got out of, or when you got into your car, I should say, where did you go? Can you describe for us where you drove to?
So there's like 3 exits or entrances to that parking lot in front of the GOAT. I'd gone out in that middle exit where it's kind of that alley in between Soho and the GOAT, and I went to take that left right there.
And you turned actually onto Old Granite Street?
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you either what's been marked for identification only as State's Exhibit number 74. Do you know what you're looking at in that picture?
Yeah.
Okay. And what does this look like to you?
The side where the GOAT and Soho are.
Okay, kind of an overhead view
Yeah,
of
the
it?
overhead.
Can you mark for me where your car was parked and then just kind of show an arrow where you drove once you left that parking spot? And is that about how far you got with your car?
Yep, I had to pull over right there.
Okay, kind of where that tree is?
Yep.
Do you mind just putting your name and today's date underneath that? Thank you. I just asked to straight the ID of this meeting, Your Honor. Okay. And last we said before.
Okay, the ID may be stricken.
And ask permission to the jury.
You may.
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
While people are just looking at the path that you described, what was your car like? What were you driving?
It was a silver Volkswagen.
A silver Volkswagen? Okay. And do you know what model it is or what
Passat.
Passat? Okay. So just to describe again what you've illustrated on here. So you pulled out of that parking lot, that's the Bank of America parking lot? And after actually kind of drove down it, and then once you came out that exit that's kind of close to Soho, you were taking a left onto Old Granite Street? Okay. So were you headed toward the SNU Center at that end of Old Granite Street?
Yeah.
So once you did that and made that turn, what happened?
So I did hear some like pounding on top of my car when I was about to exit and take that left, but I thought it was just Cole like hitting his hand, because I was like he might have rolled down the window, thinking his hand was hitting the top of my car. But as I took that turn, Kayla in my passenger seat grabbed me saying, "Isla, he has a gun, he has a gun." So I'd pulled over right there.
So the first thing that caught your attention was, can you describe what was happening with the roof?
You could tell that there was like something like, not like bouncing off of it, but you could feel, now that I know, it's like the gun, like reflection or the.
Was this something you'd ever experienced before?
No.
No, overruled. I mean, she can explain what happened.
So, as you made the turn onto Old Granite Street that Kayla made the statement to you? Okay. And you pulled the car over. So if you're here, did you pull over to your right-hand side?
Yeah.
And so at this point, you're kind of parked right in front of Soho?
Yeah, just like towards the right a little, near that tree on the image.
What you heard Kayla say that. What did you actually see as you came around the corner with your car? What were you seeing yourself?
I saw John standing there with the gun and Timmy on the ground.
Did you see anything happening? Did you see that defendant firing the gun at all?
Around 2 or 3 more shots.
And was that after Timmy was on the ground?
Yep.
What did you see happen at that time?
After the shots stopped, I saw John, I think, walk away, but I don't really remember. But I do remember he did either walk or run away.
Where was your attention focused at that point?
There was a lot of commotion, so a lot of the goat bouncers and the cop from the goat were running. So I saw them like in my rear or in my mirror. And then Kayla was on the phone with 911.
Okay. Did you stay in the car?
We did until the officers asked us to leave my car.
And where were you asked to go at that time?
In between that alley where the goat and Soho are, they had it taped off, so we had to stand there.
Where was Sarah with you? Still?
Sarah was not.
Okay. Do you know where Sarah went?
Sarah had run up to Timmy.
And what was she doing at that time?
I don't remember.
If I may just have a moment, Your Honor. I don't have any more questions for you, Isla, at this time, but the defense attorney may have a few questions for you.
Thank you.
Yes, please, yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So just so that that we're clear, you you were parked in the Bank of America parking lot, correct?
Correct.
And there's a little like parking shack or payment house right there,
Yep.
correct? It's fair to say that's where you were parked.
Yep, I parked right in front of that.
So after leaving the goat, you and your friends get into that car, drive through the parking lot, and the exit to that parking lot immediately adjacent to the alleyway between the makerspace and the Soho.
Yep.
Okay. And it's your intention at that point to take a left-hand turn.
Yes.
Okay. So as you pull out onto Old Granite Street, you're taking a left-hand turn. You hear a banging noise, per your testimony, correct?
Correct.
Are you looking up the street to your left where you're turning, or are you looking straight ahead?
Straight ahead.
Okay. So you're basically looking at the Soho, correct?
In between that, like that alleyway, yeah.
Okay. And you're not looking in the direction that you're turning?
Correct.
Okay. And you hear this banging noise, correct?
Correct.
Do you look to your left when you hear the noise?
Correct. I looked to see if Cole's window was open.
Okay. And where's Cole sitting in relation to you?
Behind me on the driver's side.
So you look to your left, and at this point you don't see anything, correct? You're just
Correct.
looking for Cole. And somebody else in the car alerts you that there's a person with a gun up the street.
Correct.
And at this point you see that Timothy is already on the ground.
Correct.
Okay. And the banging has stopped, right?
Not off my car, yeah, but not on the street.
So at this point, you pull the car forward and you eventually stop your car, correct?
Correct.
Are you in front of the Soho, or have you pulled into that alleyway?
I'm in front of Soho, but closer to that alley.
And you stay in the car?
Correct.
Okay. A police officer ultimately orders you out?
Yep, once they arrived.
Okay, and you notified the police officer immediately what your observations were?
Yep.
Did they check your car for damage?
Correct.
They found no damage?
Correct.
Just to be thorough, have you reviewed any videos of this incident prior to today?
No.
Have you seen any videos of this incident prior to today?
I mean, after in January, yeah.
Okay, so you watched videos of the incident in the news media or something along those lines?
Correct.
Those videos inside or outside the goat?
Outside.
Or those videos outside of the Soho?
Yep.
No further questions for this witness.
That's it? Okay. All right, that's good.
Okay, you can step down.
Thank you.
Good, okay. Do they have any more for today, or are they done for today? I think he said he had like 1 hour more, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they're done. All right. Today's Thursday, which is amazing. Tomorrow's Friday. Right? Tomorrow's Friday. Goat security, not the goat. Well, I don't know. He did pull out the gun when he was pepper sprayed. He didn't shoot it though, but. Johnny boy, Johnny boy. Oh, Johnny boy, Johnny boy. How's the song go? Johnny boy. He takes a whiskey drink, he takes a water drink. That's not the song.
Knows is mine.
Oh, that's not it. Going on pilots. Johnny boy. That's a weird song from many, many years ago. Johnny boy, Johnny boy. Is that who was singing the song?
All right. Does the state have any further witnesses?
Your Honor, at this time, the state of New Hampshire rests.
The rest?
And you intend to call any witnesses?
Matthew Soldano.
Soldano, this is the friend. Should be over by tomorrow. Let's go. Hey, let's go. Be done tomorrow. No, probably next week sometime. That's what they call it? Chihuahua? Nah, that's not the name of the song. It's called Chibamba? No way. Why are you making fun of me? Chihuahua? What the hell kind of singing is this? Is that it? Let me down. I get no down. Then I can overgate. That's the name of that weirdo band. They call Chumbamba? I get. Oh, that's the song though. Johnny boy. Right.
Nothing but the truth. So hope you got it.
Good afternoon. Could you state your name and age for the record?
Matthew Soldano, 23 years old.
Matthew, where do you live?
Salem, New Hampshire.
And what do you do for work?
I work in finance
Is this
at a
Tim's
hospital.
friend or?
So, Matthew, I want to bring you back to January 27th of 2023.
Oh, Danny boy.
Could you just give me a brief description
Is it Danny
of
boy?
that day,
Danny
the
boy.
beginning of that day?
Yeah, so I was at work, and after I got out of work, I met up with my friend John. He was at a funeral all day for one of our other friends. His dad passed away. So he came over, we got in my car, and we went to Old School. It's a bar in town, and we had a drink. And then we went back to my house, got his car, and headed to the GOAT.
How do you know John?
I've known him for years through school, and we played football together.
Okay, how many years approximately?
Around 8.
Now, you just told us that you went to the GOAT, just so that we set the stage. What's the GOAT?
The GOAT is a bar in Manchester.
Okay, and have you ever been to the GOAT before?
I have a few times, yes.
And do you know why John wanted to go to the GOAT?
Yeah, we were supposed to meet up with Abby and her friends. His girlfriend.
Okay. So you get to the GOAT. Tell me what happens when you arrive at the GOAT.
So we had to wait in line for a good amount of time, and then once we got in, we went to the bar. I grabbed a couple of drinks, and then we made our way down to the dance floor, and Gage and John saw a couple of their friends, so we stood there for a little bit.
Who's Gage?
Gage is another friend of ours who was there with us.
And you said that there were other people there that John or Gage knew. Do you know who those people were?
I do not, no.
Okay. Did they know who you were?
No.
Okay. So about what time is it that you're at the GOAT at this point?
All right. That was the X.
We arrived at the GOAT around 10:30, I believe. So we probably got inside around 11:15.
Okay. With the exception of the folks that you've already mentioned, did you run into anybody else you knew?
Not that I knew, no, but we did run into other people that I ended up talking to.
Okay. What about Abby? Did you eventually run into Abby?
Yes, we did, yep.
Okay. Could you tell me a little bit about how Abby came into the picture at the GOAT?
So I'm not sure when she got there. I just remember John had walked over to her, so I followed behind, and then we were talking to him.
Okay. Do you recall anything strange or odd about, well, strike that. Was there anybody with Abby?
Yes, her two friends.
Okay. And do you know what their names were?
Olivia and Nicole.
Was there anybody else there when you walked over?
No.
Okay. What was the overall demeanor of everybody? Was people having a good time?
Yeah,
Were they stressed?
From what I remember, everyone seemed to be having a good time.
Were you having a good time?
I was indeed.
All right. So you're at the goat. You've met up with Abby and Abby's friends, and John is there. Anything of note happen after that?
No, not that I remember.
Okay. Do you recall? You said you got a couple of drinks. Do you recall how many drinks you had that evening?
Ooh, I can't give an exact amount. Probably around 4 or 5, I would say.
Okay. Do you know how many John had?
I do not know.
Okay. Were you with John the whole time?
Nah, not the whole time. I mean, I wasn't glued to him or anything, but here and there I'd check in with him.
Okay. Did you check in with him fairly regularly?
I wouldn't say regularly, no.
Okay. How long would you say you total time spent at the goat that evening?
Probably 2-3 hours maybe.
Okay. Did you have to leave at some point?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Could you talk to me a little bit about the circumstances of what required you to leave that evening?
So John had been punched in the face, and the bouncers were kicking him out. He was my ride home, so I had followed him out.
Did you see him get punched in the face?
I did.
Do you recall what the person who punched him in the face looked like?
I do not know. I did not see his face.
Okay. Do you recall any item of clothing you might have been wearing?
I do not know.
Okay. You just recall that somebody punched him in the face?
I saw a hand hit him in the face.
When John was punched in the face, how did John react to that?
I mean, he fell over to begin with, and then he got up and he was kind of shook. But I mean, he got punched in the face, so he was a little angry.
Okay. Do you recall if John was injured at all?
Yeah, I mean, he had a cut underneath his eye.
Okay. And could you describe the situation that you viewed? Was this a scrum? Was it a punch and then everybody got broken up? Describe it for us.
So it was. I saw the punch, and then I saw a bunch of bouncers come over, and it looked like it was broken up pretty quickly.
Okay. What happened next?
He was escorted outside. I was following behind, and then we started walking away.
Did he seem upset or aggravated?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he just got punched in the face.
Do you recall if he said anything on his way out the door?
I do not know.
Were you in front of John or behind John?
I was behind him leaving.
Okay. Anybody else leave with you?
Yeah, Gage left with us, and Abby and her friends also left with us.
Okay. So when you go out the front door of the goat, can you set the scene for me? What's outside?
Right out the door, nothing. It was just them, and I kind of turned the corner already and started heading towards our car.
Okay. When you say you turned the corner, what direction did you go in?
Right outside of the goat, up towards Soho.
And so is the Soho? So you turned right. You start going up the street towards the Soho. Why were you going in that direction?
We had parked over there.
Where did you park?
Down an alleyway, and across the street is a market basket, and that's where we were parked.
Okay, so when you got to the goat, how did you arrive from that parking lot?
We went through the alleyway up towards the goat.
Which alleyway?
The alleyway that is across the street from the market basket, next to Soho.
Okay. Let me ask you a little bit about what the weather was like outside. Was it warm, cold?
It was cold.
Anything else? Was there snow on the ground, ice, anything like that?
I don't remember, but I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you remember it was cold?
Yeah.
Did you have a sweater or a sweatshirt or anything
I
like
did.
that
I had
on?
a sweater and a knit hat on.
Okay. When you step outside and you're in front of the goat, did you keep walking or did you stop?
I kept walking.
Okay. Anybody else stop?
And once someone had said something, and that's when I heard him and DeLee going back and forth.
Who and DeLee?
There was a guy outside smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
And he said something to me when I walked by, but I didn't really understand what he said, so I kind of just kept going.
Do you remember how this person was dressed?
Not exactly, no, but I just remember he had a long sleeve on and some pants.
Okay. Was he doing anything other than talking to you and DeLee?
He was smoking a cigarette.
Okay. Do you remember how far away from you he was or far away from DeLee?
He was on like the edge of the sidewalk, and we were like in the middle of the sidewalk.
Okay. Did you stop to talk to him? Did you try to keep walking?
I tried to keep walking. DeLee and him ended up going back and forth a little bit.
When you say they were going back and forth, what do you mean?
I just heard them talking. They were talking to one another.
All right. Were you watching this interaction?
Yeah. After I heard them start talking, I turned around.
Okay. So you're standing there. Where is John DeLee based upon your perspective?
He's right in front of me, so I'm looking at his back.
Okay. And where's this other individual?
In front of DeLee.
Okay. Could you see the other indivial
Not
on
really.
your side? Okay.
Not really, no.
And you don't quite remember what they were saying. Do you remember, were they talking, yelling?
It wasn't yelling, but their voices were raised.
Okay. And do you recall what anybody said?
I do not know.
Did it seem like John recognized this person?
Not really, no.
Okay. But they were arguing back and forth. Was there anybody else there?
Yep. So Gage, Abby, and her friends were there with us as well.
Were they doing anything at this point?
Abby was in between DeLee and the other kid.
Okay. And what was Abby doing at this point?
Trying to just keep DeLee away.
Okay. Was she successful?
Somewhat, yes. Not fully.
Okay, not fully. When you say not fully, what do you mean?
She wasn't able to like move him or anything.
Okay.
But she was able to stay in his way.
Okay. So at this point, what's your intention? Do you want to stay there? Do you want to leave?
I want to leave as quickly as possible.
Okay, so what steps do you take to do that?
So I started to move in front of DeLee to give him a little more extra motivation to start moving up towards the thing. We were successful moving him up a little bit, and then another person approached us.
Okay, what did that person look like?
I couldn't tell you what they looked like. They were in pants and a long sleeve as well.
Okay, what drew your attention to this person?
So someone had mentioned that someone had pepper spray.
Okay.
And I looked, and
do you remember who mentioned that?
I do not remember who it was, no.
Okay, but explain to me what happened.
So someone had said it. I looked over, and I see a kid standing there with a can in his hand, up like this. So that kind of froze me for a quick second.
Okay, when you say up like this, could you just describe for all of us
So
what that means?
yeah, so the can was in his hand like this, and he had his finger on the top.
Okay, and who is he facing, if anybody?
DeLee.
Okay. Was he squared up? Was he like 90 degrees straight on with him?
Yeah.
Okay. What did John do?
They started going back and forth with each other.
You say they started going back and forth with each other. What do you mean?
They were talking to each other.
You mean they were talking to each other? Were they using pleasantries?
No,
were they
yeah.
yelling at each other?
It was more of not a pleasant. I wouldn't say yelling, but there was definitely not a.
You don't remember
pleasant
none of
tone.
the conversation?
Okay. What happened next?
So that happened, and then I started being able to get him to move a little bit more.
All right.
But I wasn't really looking at him. I was more facing towards the two kids as he was moving up towards Soho more.
How did you feel about the situation at this point?
I was getting pretty scared. I've never been in a situation like this, so I didn't really know how to handle anything.
Okay.
But I was scared because, pepper spray is nothing light.
Okay. Did you feel like you were in danger?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. So from this point, are you successful in getting John to follow you or go ahead of you up the street?
Yes, I got him to move up the street a little bit, yeah.
What about these two other people? What are they doing?
They had moved back a little bit, so that's how I was more successful at getting John to move up the street. And then once I got him to the alleyway that we were going to walk down to go back to the car, and I heard from behind me, Gage had said that they were following us. So I had told DeLee to stop because I didn't want him to go down the alley with people following us. And then I looked and I saw that they were across the street, but they were starting to come back towards us. And then I heard DeLee and them start going back at it with each other, yelling.
So Matt, let me take you a step back.
Yep.
Where were you when the person with the pepper spray approached you? Do you recall where on the street?
We were on the sidewalk.
Okay. Were you right in front of the goat? Were you in front of another building?
We were in between Soho and the goat.
Okay. You said that Abby and her friends were with you at some point. Were they still with you at this point?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Where were they in relation to you?
So I was more towards the street side of the sidewalk, and they were behind me.
Okay. And where's John at this point?
He's also behind me.
Okay. At some point, does John move ahead of you, or does he stay behind you?
He stayed behind me.
Okay. What do you do next? Bring us back to what you were talking about before.
So that's when I turned around and I started yelling at DeLee to get his butt moving up the street. And we were pretty successful. As I said, I got into the alleyway, to the entrance of the alleyway. And that's when Gage had said to us that they were following us. So I told DeLee to stop. I turned, and I saw them from the other side of the street start coming back towards us.
And when you say them, who do you mean?
The two kids that we had seen prior.
At this point, where are you in relation to the Soho?
I'm right in front of the Soho.
Okay, where's Gage?
Gage is back behind me against the wall.
And where's John?
He's in the entrance of the alleyway.
Describe the alleyway to me.
It was a dark alleyway. It was just, there was trash cans in there, but it was just like a way for us to get back to the car.
Were there any lights?
Yeah, near Soho, it's pretty lit up.
Okay, but further down?
It's dark.
Okay. Tell me what you were feeling at this moment down that dark alleyway.
I was scared because once they told us that they were following us, it was my thing that nothing good ever comes from going down a dark alleyway with people following you.
Okay. So you've already told us that you told DeLee to stop. What happened next?
So he stopped, and then he and the kids across the street that were coming towards us started going back and forth again. I tried to get him to calm down a little bit, but they were just going back and forth at it, and they started going towards each other. And I had
take you a step back for a moment, Matt. What are you doing at this point?
I'm looking at the kids coming towards us.
Okay. Are you saying anything? Are you doing anything at all?
I had my hands up trying to get them to go back over to the other side of the street.
Okay. And were you talking with them, or were you just gesturing?
I was just gesturing.
Okay. Did they heed that?
No.
Okay. What are they doing at this point while you're trying to wave them off?
They're yelling back and forth with John.
Okay. Are they walking towards you, or are they standing there?
They are walking towards us, yeah.
Okay. Where is John at this point?
He's still in the entranceway of the alley.
Do you recall what they were saying?
I do not know.
Okay. And how do you feel at this moment with those people coming towards you?
I was scared. I was definitely very scared.
Tell us what happens next.
So they start going towards each other, and I kind of turned, and I was approached by an individual, and he lifted my shirt and asked me if I had a gun.
Okay, so Matt, I want to ask you, where were you standing when this happens?
I was on the street.
What street?
The one that is in front of the goat.
Do you know the name of that street?
I do not know.
Okay. What direction were you facing?
Towards the other side of the street.
Okay, when you say the other side of the street.
So away from the goat.
Okay. Is there anything over there that you could use as a landmark to tell us where you were and where you were facing?
No, there was just it was a parking lot. There was cars.
Okay. So you're facing towards the parking lot. There are cars. Take us through what happens.
So I was approached. My shirt was lifted. He asked me if I had a gun. I didn't. I had my hands up. I didn't. I said, no, I don't. And then me and him started walking towards DeLee and the two other kids that were pretty much face to face at this point.
Do you have any idea why he would ask you if you have a gun?
No.
Okay. John known to carry a gun?
He is, yes.
Did you know if he was carrying a gun that night?
I wasn't 100% sure, but I assumed he had been, yes.
Was it the first time that he carried a gun?
No.
Had you seen John carrying a gun that evening? At any point up to that point?
Early in the night, before we went to the goat at my house.
Okay, so you knew when he was you were at his house, or he was at your house, that he was armed.
Yes.
So one of these people asks you if you're armed.
Yes.
Did you respond to them verbally, or did they just check you?
They just checked me.
Okay. What do you do next?
I start walking towards DeLee and the other two kids that were face to face.
Okay. And can you describe to me the two people that were face to face with John?
I know they were the two kids that we had seen earlier on the sidewalk.
Okay. What's John doing at that point?
They're yelling back and forth at each other.
Okay, and what do you do at this point?
this was the last time I went up to him, tried to get him to follow me back towards the alley.
Okay. Did you go towards the alley?
I started walking away, yes, with my hands on my head.
What happens next?
Shots were fired.
Okay. Did you see the shots fired?
I did not know.
Did you hear them?
I did.
Okay, and how far away from John were you when you heard those shots?
I would have to say probably 20 feet, maybe. I wasn't on the sidewalk yet, but I was close to it.
Okay. Do you recall how many shots you heard?
I heard about 3 or 4, and then everything kind of went silent for me. I kind of got tunnel vision after
Okay. How are you feeling at this moment?
I was terrified.
All right.
I didn't know what just happened.
Do you see John after this?
I do not know.
Okay. Where do you go?
I run into Soho.
Okay. Do you see anybody else when you're in the Soho?
I was in there with Gage.
Okay. Did you talk to Gage at all?
A little bit. We were both kind of just shook at what had just happened.
Did you look back outside at all?
No.
Did you see anybody else running or anything like that?
To begin with, yes, before I got into Soho, yep. So that's how I got into Soho. I saw Gage running towards Soho, so I followed him in.
No further questions, Judge.
Cross. I jumped in.
I don't know who's going cross.
Your Honor, the state has a significant number of questions for Mr. Soldano. I'm not sure if it makes sense to wait.
Okay. All right, so let's break for this afternoon. So we'll start at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, if I can get the lawyers here for 9:30, so we can take care of housekeeping.
Damn, tomorrow's the
Actually,
first
I'll
already.
wait on the bench and
Oh,
just talk
good.
to you about those
All
issues.
right.
Hold up. Tomorrow's the first. It's the first of the month. So they're going until about 4. Not bad. It's not bad. Ride it out. Prosecution's already done. 3 days in.
Just before 10 o'clock.
Not bad. Not bad, man.
You can be seated. Okay, so
Amelita. Yeah, I hope we get a chase, man. I hope we do.
do you want to make your motion now, or do you want to do it tomorrow morning?
I can just put on the record now that I'm moving to dismiss on the grounds of insufficiency of the evidence. I don't know how much Your Honor needs to hear in terms of argument. I suspect what the ruling might be.
Okay. So I think, I mean, this is a classic case of, at this juncture, I have to take the evidence in the light most favorable to the state. And there's certainly at this juncture, with taking that standard and viewing, leaving credibility assessments to the jury, sufficient evidence for a reasonable jury to conclude both certainly plenty of evidence that the defendant caused the death, and that he did so either knowingly or recklessly with extreme indifference and not based on self-defense or provocation. Those are issues I think ultimately the jury will have to decide based
Nobody
on
uses mics over there.
this standard. So, okay. Jury instructions. Did you submit anything on the provocation? Because you had objected and said you were going to submit something on. I just hadn't had a chance to look to it.
No, that's okay. We're actually going to wait.
You're going to agree?
We're going to take our objection back.
Okay. So then we got the stipulations first thing in the morning. If we can just get those nailed down so I can do that.
Those are filed now.
Oh, you did file them? Okay,
Yes.
all right. I'll get those.
And we'll obviously have an opportunity after defense rests if we have any other issues with the jury instructions before they're read at least.
Yeah, just if there's anything major, I'd rather
Not major.
okay. Anything major from the defense in terms of the jury instructions?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So if we can, so if it's nothing major, then like in terms of restructuring or anything major missing that I need to do research on, then we can just deal with it. Maybe let's do it 15 minutes before we start. So if you can be here at 9:45 tomorrow, that'd be great. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Remind everyone the courthouse.
So the state was done faster than I thought. Wow. Mamma mia. That was quick. Okay, cool. So 3 days done. The defense brought on John's friend. And when you think about it, the defense already had one person coming early. That was today, right? Was that today? Because of timing or whatever. So like they already have one witness knocked out. This will, I'm sure will be done by next week. Maybe by Monday. Who knows? Monday, Tuesday, maybe at the most. I don't know. In and out. So tomorrow we'll start with the cross-examination. And I'm curious. I'm curious if the defense are going to go light or they're going to go rapid. They need to go rapid. Tear them up. Now, this witness that was on today for John, I guess he doesn't. I mean, I guess it was 2 years ago, but he doesn't remember any conversation at all that night. I mean, I guess. No conversation, doesn't know anybody, doesn't recognize anybody, doesn't remember what anybody looks like the night his best friend died. And Abby's the girlfriend. I thought she was an ex. They say he's a girlfriend. So was Timmy at the time were they boyfriend girlfriend too? Was Timmy talking to this guy's girlfriend? He did seem kind of coach too. I don't remember anything besides they confronted us, followed us. I don't remember what they screamed at each other. I don't remember anything what John said. They just came for us and that was it. Okay. So let's see if the prosecution, which now they have the whole night to think about it and plan. Oh yeah, it would be really interesting to see John testify. Mm-hmm. Let me ask. I think. Yeah, so I'm gonna text you after the stream. All right, guys, I'll hit you up. We'll talk. Good night. If there's a chase, I'll come back. If not, I'm probably just gonna kind of clean tonight. Mama's coming over a little later.